Ladies and gentlemen, we saved the best for last when it comes to our GTM takeover this week of Sportswire Radio. And I'm excited to have him on here because it's been a while and he's done a lot since the past few months that we've had him on. We'll get into all that here, but he is a part of the main event this Saturday at GTM Judgment Day for the GTM World Heavyweight Championship. And last week, you heard from the champion, Jack the Champ Johnson, as he calls himself. But now we get his side of the story. And on top of that, he's also the BTW #1 contender for that championship with Rarebit. So a lot to get into here with him. Always excited to have him on here. So without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the #1 Rebel Sports Show, pro wrestling star here, the vigilante of pro wrestling. That's Bentley. Champ, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you breathe after that? Are you all right?
I'm gonna find out here because I'm on the air. I think I have 3 more different spots tonight. Tomorrow I'm on the air. I think in 2 literally different time zones. So we'll see how my voice is doing. Yesterday I had people left and right calling me after we went off the air last night with our GTM takeover, and all of a sudden people wanted to talk to me, and I was like, well, I don't know if you just heard, but I was on throughout social media at sportnarium.com/player at all of our social media channels, and I don't have much left in me. So you're going to have to, in order to get in touch with me, you're going to have to watch me. So obviously that's here nor there, but Champ, I could very well be calling you Champ. I could be calling you Bentley 2 Belts here coming up here in a very short distant future, but obviously it's good to be with you, and certainly for those that are watching and listening to this on Sportswire Radio, you got to set the tables for us first, because obviously we saw what Jack the Champ Johnson said with us last week live. We've certainly seen the back and forth on social media between you and him. So now I give you the chance on Sportswire Radio, after everything you've heard, everything you've seen, your responses to the current, for now, GTM World Champion, Jack the Champ Johnson.
So Jack, he thinks he's really big time now, doesn't he? He's won a title. He's the GTM champion, and he's found a tank. And I suppose he thought a tank would scare me. But I mean, I grew up in Blackburn. It's not as bad as Salford, but a tank's not going to scare me, Jack. I roam the streets and hunt criminals, Jack. Like I go around wrestling, beating up the baddest guys around, and you think you rolling up in a tank that probably doesn't work, that you found in Salford and put together with cans? I mean, and to be honest, someone who goes around going, "I'm Salford and you're not," I mean, it's not something to brag about, and he thinks that is something that makes him better than everyone else. But for GTM, I'm Bradford, and you're not Jack. I am going to represent each and every one of those people you have upset for the past, I think it's going on 14, 15 months now. So Saturday, it's coming to an end. It's out of rain. It's been short. You've had a laugh. You can bring dangerous. You can bring your tank. You can bring whatever, but it's not going to stop us, from me beating you. So,
well, we're going to certainly get into a number of those topics here over the course of the next hour or so. But I want to ask you this question, because I've asked this throughout to a number of the different wrestlers. I'm sure you've heard the different comments here, whether it's Joel Cobra, whether it's last night, obviously, Bradley Cook Pattinson, who's going to be on the call. I mean, pretty much everybody else at this point who's been on with us talking about Judgment Day. And you brought up Dangerous, and obviously the Metal God Alex Boylan, Rarebit. We'll get into Rarebit for sure also in a little while. But I mean, how do you overcome knowing the fact that there is going to be a numbers advantage that Jack is going to have, because he is going to have certainly the Metal God Alex Boylan and Rarebit at his disposal to make sure he retains Saturday night?
well, if you saw the last GTM show, it was a fatal 4-way, and they were both, Boylan and Rarebit were both in it. I showed I can take both of them out plus Maverick Matt at the same time in that. So Jack on his own with those two getting involved. I mean, I'm prepared. I know it's not going to be easy. I know Jack's going to bring everything he's got because me and him have fought before. Me and him fought in GTM before. We probably we tore the house down last time, and he did win. He's got a pinfall victory over me, but he cheated. So I'm prepared in that light because I know what's happened before, and I've also got a victory over him in a different promotion. So we are 1-1. So this is the decider, really, isn't it?
Well, certainly a lot to get into there. Obviously, this is the rubber match here, and this is very well going to have a lot more on the line here, undoubtedly. And is that something you're also looking at? Because we spoke quite a bit about this, obviously, in the last week, and we even spoke about it with Jack when he was on the air last week, that you essentially did beat the three people that very well that the champ could be relying on in Dangerous and this whole situation with Maverick Matt Williams. That's something that you're going into saying, you know what? I was in the ring with all those people, and I'm the guy that came out on top here. I'm the guy that very well is defending GTM's honor coming up this Saturday. Is that something that psychologically for you that you're going into this saying, hey, I did it to those guys. It's me and Jack. I can do this, especially after going through all of those guys.
Exactly. Like I think I took all three of them out in the space about a minute. 3 claymores done. So if it needs that again, then so be it. And I'll also have the whole of Bradford behind me. I'll have that momentum. I'll have that atmosphere. Nobody in there is going to be rooting for Jack. So, like I said, it's Bradford versus Jack.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we obviously know that whole situation between Salford and Bradford, and Jack the Champ Johnson has been going on. He's been with us a couple of times, and we're going to hear from him next week, and I'm sure we're going to see if he's still holding the gold or not. But do you feel also, in a sense, maybe a little more incentive in the fact that you do feel like you are defending this town here? You are defending this place because obviously now for the first time here in quite a while, we're empty-handed here when it comes to Bradford and gold.
Yeah, so like it's been my adopted home, really. Like they've embraced me, they've welcomed me.
They love you. I mean, listen,
yeah.
I mean, everywhere they love you, it seems, but it's certainly a little different. I was seeing the reaction that you got watching the last event, Resurrection, and you certainly, I mean, the fans are behind you here. They really, and I can't blame them.
I mean, I even had chance in the main event when Matt did that to Gareth. There was a chance for me to come out. Unfortunately, I actually wasn't there. So if I was there, maybe Gareth would still be champion. But
well, listen,
unfortunately not. So now it's my turn to take it off Jack, to be a hero for Bradford. We've had Gareth. Gareth was the shining light, and now Jack's extinguished that. So it's my turn.
We're going to certainly find out here. And of course, if you are looking for more information on GT Ministries, I want to make sure everybody continues to follow them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, GT Ministries UK. And of course, like me in America, I'll be watching on YouTube where you can watch the card here live, Judgment Day at the Fountains Church. And you will see Bentley in action in the main event here for the World Championship against Jack the Champ Johnson. And we'll certainly see if Dangerous is going to help him. And certainly I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryson. I got to bring in, speaking of the champ, because you know that he's tuned in here. Obviously, we've seen the back and forth you guys have been having, whether it's you're on the stream, he's on the stream, and he's in the house with us here. So I've got to pull up his comment and his reactions towards you. So Jack the Champ Johnson says, I'll end Bentley on Saturday. So I turn it over to you. I mean, what do you want to say to Jack directly now that he's right there?
For a start, did he teach punctuation in Salford?
Ooh.
And I'm surprised you've got a laptop, Jack, in Salford. So anyway, we've already said, Jack, how are you going to end me? Last time we met, you cheated. You brought the pipe into the ring. The ref got hold of it. Well, I got hold of it before you hit me. I gave it to the ref because I decided not to hit you with it, Jack, because I would have got disqualified. Give it to the ref, turn around, you poked me in the eye. So I'm prepared for that this time. I know if anything like that happens, if I turn around, I know something's coming, especially if the rest backs turn. So maybe you might get a little taste of your own medicine if that happens.
Well, it could be, as John Bon Jovi famously sang here, bad medicine could be coming to Jack Johnson. But Mr. Johnson obviously he responds here after what you just said, and he says here, I've got a plan. So apparently he's got a plan. I mean, Mr. Johnson, would you like to elaborate on the plan? Because Bentley might want to know, so that way he can plan in terms of how to deal with the plan. But do you have any guesses here on what that plan is, Bentley?
Oh, trust me, I can pretty much. It's like reading it like back of a newspaper, and it's obvious. It's either going to be a pipe. It's going to either go for the title belt, take me with that, or Rarebit or Boylan are getting involved. There's no other plan, Jack.
But see, there's something I want to bring up that we saw as to why Jack Johnson is the champion. And there's somebody you left out, and that's Maverick Matt Williams. And I want to get to Maverick Matt Williams because we saw that whole situation there with Dangerous. And we asked Mr. Johnson this last week, but would that concern you, let's say, in terms of the involvement of Maverick Matt Williams? Because we don't know his situation with Dangerous. We don't know his affiliations right now. Obviously, we're assuming that Mr. Angel at some point is going to respond to that. And certainly, I'm sure that Mr. Williams is going to have a lot in his plate with that. But are you concerned that maybe Maverick Matt Williams could be a part? Remember, you pinned him at the last event. You do hold a victory over. I'm sure in the back of his mind, that's going to be something that he's thinking about because, you know what, he might want to get even on you. He would certainly, after denying Gareth Angel his championship reign, he would certainly like to deny you of that possibility of being Bentley 2 belts.
Look, Maverick Matt Williams is the least of my concerns. I'm pretty sure if he even thinks about getting involved, I think Gareth Angel will have something to say. Never mind me. I think he's a pretty much wanted man in GTM at the moment, so it'll be brave to show his face on Saturday. So if he does show up, I'll just kick his head off again. So it's just another person to help Jack out because Jack can't get it done on his own.
Okay, well, we're going to certainly find out here. And obviously, again, Jack Johnson is claiming that he has a plan. And now we see his photo. He's got that belt here. I almost brought this up, and I've thought I've asked this maybe to a couple different people. I know I have it throughout. We've had so many people on with GTM that I'm pretty sure it's been like 4 or 5 people I've asked the same question to, whether it's obviously Joe Cobra, Bradley yesterday. I've even asked Old School MC2 this question. So I'm going to ask you the same question because, well, you're going to be in the ring with him. And I'd asked this, and I almost feel in a sense that the pressure is on solely Jack Johnson because obviously he just won the belt, and now all of a sudden, just a few short weeks later, he's in the ring here. Undoubtedly, you've got pressure also because you are the number 1 contender in 2 companies. You could be Bentley 2 belts. You do have a history here. It's the rubber match, but I feel like the pressure undoubtedly is toward Jack here because he's going to want to prove that this isn't a fluke. He's going to want to prove that this isn't really a one-shot deal here, and he won it because of circumstances that helped him in the numbers game. Do you feel like, in a sense, because maybe Jack has a lot more pressure, possibly? Not saying he has more pressure than you, because obviously you're a number 1 contender in 2 companies. That's a rare thing, but do you feel like that he might step up his game just a little bit because he is going to feel that pressure that he's not going to want to be considered a fluke here as a champion?
Oh, I've got absolutely no doubt that Jack's going to step up his game because, like I said, the last time me and him were in a GTM ring, we tore the house down.
Absolutely.
We kicked 7 bells out of each other, and I've no doubt that's exactly what I'm going to get on Saturday, but tenfold, because I'm going to bring it tenfold. And I know me and Jack, we do elevate each other's game when we're in the ring together. I have got no doubt that this might be one of the hardest hitting, most intense GTM matches in GTM's history.
That's why we've been saying here that Judgment Day is going to change the landscape of GTM permanently. And something tells me that's going to be the case. And I also have to ask you then, when it comes to a match like this, I mean, I know we've been in the ring with Franco Varga. I've got to ask you about that. We didn't get a chance to speak about that since we last had you on. I think you were about to be in the ring with him before we had you on.
Yeah.
But, I mean, something like this, I mean, are you preparing differently than other matches? Because I feel like that, and I have a comment. I'm going to get to that comment in a second. But do you feel like that there's a little bit different in terms of how you're training for a match like this, let's say, versus some of the ones we spoke about in the past?
Oh yeah, I've been in the gym every day this week. I've got 2 more sessions. I've got tomorrow night. It'll be cardio and weights, and then Saturday morning a bit
Are
of
you
light
sure you want
cardio.
to tell everybody that? Because Jack Johnson's
Oh,
going to say, well, Bentley's doing this at the gym. Well, that means I got to prepare differently now so I can get the advantage on him. Are you
hey,
sure?
I don't think Jack's ever seen a gym.
I'm not going to comment on that. Me of all people, I mean, I certainly am going to plead the
Yeah.
fifth on that one. So I have to say I'm pleading the fifth.
No, I don't care. Like, I have got a very straight game plan. I'll hit the gym. I will be on top performance. Like I said, Saturday morning I'll even be in the gym. Got to get warmed up. And
So you're not watching
back.
Saturday morning cartoons, if that's a thing in the UK still?
No, might watch a little Soccer AM, but
well, football for really is really football. Remember, we spoke about that last time when Franco Varga was calling it soccer. So listen, I remind you about that.
Yeah. I might watch a bit of SmackDown in the morning, get a few,
all right, that's fair.
You know.
Now, that I can live with that. All right, so let me get to this comment here because I think you might want to hear this comment, and certainly it's somebody that we've had on, and we're also going to remind everybody that we're actually going to do next Friday live on Sportswire Radio, 9:30 p.m. British Standard Time. We are going to have all of the tag teams that are going to be in the CCW Tag Team Championship match Saturday night at GTM Judgment Day, all face-to-face with each other. That includes, obviously, Slugger Riley, the Wolf of West Yorkshire, our current champions, the Working Class Militia against the Educators, including Old School MC2, who was on last night, and, of course, the Modern Day Mafia. So that's going to be an interesting showdown, to say the least. A first ever for Sportswire Radio, CCW, and certainly GTM. But here's what Slugger has to say. And also want to plug Slugger because he has also his own stream right now that they had on the CCW page for Colliery Championship Wrestling. I want to plug them for everybody that's tuned in. They have a huge event upcoming, which we're going to be plugging quite a bit on the 27th of May, the National Colliery Brawl. So please, everybody, make sure you support them as well and their company. They're doing a lot of great things. And Slugger says here, Jack's going to be lucky to get out of this. We respect Bentley for his ability in fight. So we've got a sign of respect here, a tip of the cap. I would say cap, but I clearly don't wear a cap. But obviously, we have a nod of respect here, Bentley. So give me your thoughts on actually the Working Class Militia saying, you know what? We respect you, Bentley. That's a cool thing we just saw just now.
I mean, yeah, that means a lot. I've actually never met Slugger. So
I would think you're going to meet him Saturday night.
Yeah, we'll meet him Saturday, which would be a pleasure. That means a lot. Thanks for your comment. And yeah, Jack will be lucky.
Okay, well, listen, I mean, you might have gold and he might have gold together. I mean, certainly even Bradley Cook Pattinson, to his credit, said he thinks the Working Class Militia are going to retain those belts. I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot because you've got your own stuff you got to get through. And obviously, we know that you're really focused, laser focused on that World Championship match, just as obviously Slugger is. And a huge shout out again to Slugger. Cannot thank him enough for all that he does, obviously. Really enjoyed speaking with him and the Wolf of West Yorkshire. Just really enjoyed their story, getting to know them. And I'm almost fans of them, too. I mean, at this point, I mean, it's hard for me to pick a winner in that triple threat match because they're all great teams here, so obviously, and he also chimes in, this ain't about us, thank good luck, Bill. Absolutely, and we just wanted to promote you, Slugger, because I know that you had a stream also on Facebook, and I wanted to acknowledge also CCW because, like I said, and I'll ask you in a few minutes about the Forbidden Door being broken because you're actually a big example of that. But obviously, I wanted to acknowledge all the great things that the guys are doing. Please follow the Working Class Militia on Facebook, also Instagram. Make sure you follow Slugger and all the great things that he's doing. And I got to bring in here. I think it's Nishiki. I think I got it right this time. It's Nishiki.
Yeah, it's like Rikishi. Nikishi.
I know. I want to make sure I get people's names right.
No, Nishiki, not Rikishi. Sorry, Nishiki.
I want to make sure I get people's names right because the last thing, because I always tell the story all the time. I had on a famous baseball player, a Major League Baseball player on, and I was lucky to get the contact, and I butchered the guy's name half the interview. And I always said, well, they didn't tell me how to say it. So obviously I want to make sure I get this right here. But Nishiki says here, Sulfur Tank versus Bentley Mobile.
Well,
that does sound like
it was more. So Jack said, "Oh, why don't you turn up in your Kia or something to that effect?" So all I said was Bentley doesn't drive a Kia.
well, to be fair, if you are a world champion, wouldn't you be able to get a Tesla then?
I mean, GTM don't pay Tesla prices.
Well, I mean, obviously, that's up to GTM management to decipher on that. But that is the old expression that champions all of a sudden they get afforded different opportunities. Because look, again, if Mr. Johnson could have a tank, I would certainly think that Bentley's going to have something worthy in its own right.
But Jack's stolen that tank. I ain't going to steal anything.
Okay, well, that's certainly a fair point, because we know that you're the vigilante of pro wrestling, and Mr. Johnson is the complete opposite of that here. So obviously, that is a good point. I mean, so you weren't intimidated then by the tank. I mean, you weren't intimidated by that at all. I mean,
I'd be impressed if he knows how to drive it.
Well, I mean, I guess we're going to find out on Saturday. I mean, something tells me, because I'm kind of speechless and thinking about it. I mean, I almost, from the logistics standpoint, how do you fit a tank into the Fountains Church? I mean, the Fountains Church is a big place, no doubt about it. But I'm always trying to think about it. How do you fit a church into a tank into the Fountains Church? So obviously, we'll find out here. And of course, those are reasons why you also want to follow GTM here, of course, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, GT Ministries UK. Also, Bentley, you want to follow on Instagram as well and Twitter for all the great things that he is doing, because, again, he very well could be a Bentley 2 belts, and you can follow him. Before I get to my next comment, because, again, I got to keep up with the comments here, it'll be _Bentley on Instagram. So make sure you follow him on Instagram. We want to get those followers up here. We got to get those followers up here. And this is somebody I know very well who was on last night's stream with Old School MC2. And you might know, or you may know this is, you might not know who this is here. And his point is Kieran Hayes here. And I was speaking with Kieran back and forth, and we're going to bring him on Sportswire Radio here in the near and distant future. Of course, he is an up-and-coming wrestling star here as well, and I definitely want to acknowledge him, because we had quite a conversation with him with Old School MC2, and his point here is in terms of getting a tank into the Fountains Church through a letterbox, obviously. So, I mean, I guess he's right. Good thinking. That's clearly why I don't think very well. I'm clearly not the sharpest tool in the drawer here.
I mean, it might be a toy tank Jack's got, so it probably will fit for the letterbox.
Did you have those Hasbro toys as a kid, or those Mattel toys with the tanks, or like I don't know if it was a thing, but I remember getting as a little kid, you would get you almost have like a little like candy store in New York, and if you were lucky, and I wasn't lucky a lot because I wasn't the greatest of kids, obviously, but my father would give us you would buy like the toy military, like the toy soldiers and the toy tanks and these little sharp objects, and maybe that's what Jack Johnson has rather than a real tank. I mean, is that maybe fair to oblige or think about maybe?
Yeah, I would say that, because did you not see his background on the call? It was full of toys.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to comment. I wasn't going to comment.
He collects figures, and he's a big fan of Turbo Man. So,
well, he probably saw Doctor Strange 2 this past week, which a lot of people did. But that's certainly, here nor there. And again, these are things that I hadn't thought about. So good point there, Kieran. But I mean, when it comes to also, I want to get to we have another comment here. So you know what? I actually got to bring it up here, because I was going to ask you something, but you know what? Little old me is going to wait on that. So here's Kieran's point. If Jack had got a real tank, he's overcompensating for something. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, do you think, and I asked this question, I think, in another segment, it might have been with Joel, and there is a point of a complexity issue here. Do you think maybe there is an issue that's a complexity issue here, that the champ, he's the champ, but maybe he's insecure about something here? Maybe he's saying, oh, I'm going to bring tanks. I'm going to bring up the object of tanks because you've brought it up. I've brought it up here. There's a numbers game. But face-to-face, one-on-one, with no objects, no anything else involved, you've had the upper hand here. I mean, do you feel like, in a sense, maybe there is a complexity issue, insecurity, overcompensating? I mean,
Well,
walk
it
me
was
through
it
that.
was it was the opening line of my first promo. In the I don't know if this is a US thing, but it's called little man syndrome.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
I've heard it
So
all the time. I mean, I'm not a little man, but I've heard the
yeah,
little man syndrome because I always like to joke with people. I'm almost 6 foot, so I mean, I actually can't say I'm a little man, but I've heard the little man syndrome. I mean, and no, we're not talking about Kevin Hart here, but yeah, no, I've heard that quite well. Sure.
yeah. So I'd say that's his insecurity. He's a little man. He needs people around him. He's desperate to make it seem like he's confident and he's got all this going for him, and there's no way he can be beaten on Saturday. But really, he's just a little man. He's very insecure, and he has to shout Salford. Got nothing else to say.
So, I mean, Salford, I mean, why do you think we've seen, in a way, and I'll get to Kieran again, but it's almost become like USA versus Canada here when it's Salford and Bradford. It's almost like we've seen, like, it's all of a sudden, like, there's such a thing here. I mean, Jack is literally, he's speaking almost in a sense. I asked Jack this last week. I mean, are we going to see GTM events all of a sudden in Salford in the coming future if he's the champion still? I mean, what do you make of this?
In his wildest dreams, that might happen, but I don't think GTM is heading to Salford anytime soon.
And I've actually, before I get to some comments, I've actually got some breaking news, and I have a match announcement, but we'll get to that in a little while. But this actually is breaking news here for Sportswire Radio. It actually kind of involves you. They both involve you, the announcements, in some way, but this one's going to definitely involve you. I can promise you here. So let's get to the first announcement, and this is coaching of Slugger Riley. So thank you, Slugger, for actually doing this here. And I'm sure he broke it on his Facebook stream, and we would have been tuned into that, but unfortunately, we were on at the same time. So I apologize about that. But here's the breaking news. Chris Onyx, who we saw on the top tier stream earlier this week here, says Chris Onyx, who is the CCW heavyweight champion, has accepted GTM's challenge here to enter the 4-way #1 contenders match, making it a 5-way. He'll have his eyes on Jack versus Bentley. And for those that are recapping here, that 4-way match here to determine the next #1 contender for the GTM championship after your match, and certainly Jack Johnson this coming Saturday, it's going to be Rarebit, the current BTW champion, the UKW champion, Mustafa Khan, Cayman Carlisle, the UKW TV champion, also Andy Poole, and now the latest addition here, also from top tier, the CCW world champion, Chris Onyx, who's on quite a run in his own right here, champ. He's on quite a run, and he's definitely been doing a lot of great things here. So I have to ask you, Bentley, give me your thoughts now on this announcement here that we're going to see now a 5-way match to determine possibly, if you win on Saturday, your first defense.
It's becoming quite the stacked Saturday, isn't it?
Oh, my goodness. And we still have an announcement in a little while to get to here. I mean, my goodness.
I mean, all I can say to that is, by all means, I am all for companies working together, cross-promoting, getting people involved everywhere. And all I can say is, if Chris wins, then maybe both titles will be on the line and it can be Bentley 3 belts.
Oh! Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard it here. Could we even see the possibility by June the 11th, we could see Bentley as the CCW champion, the BTW champion, and the GTM champion? I mean, if I'm Chris Onyx right now and I'm entering this match Saturday, I got a lot on the line here. I want to come and win this match because I would want to face Bentley. I mean, that's certainly something here. I mean, I didn't even think of that. Who even thought of that here? I mean, this is huge. The fact that we could see you. I mean, listen, forget about Kenny Omega and all those championships he held. Forget about Roman Reigns right now, and he's pretty much the WWE champion both on Raw and SmackDown for those belts. You could literally be the UK World Champion coming up here in just a few short weeks. I mean, Bentley, This is groundbreaking. This is just the forbidden door is open and some. I mean, listen, this is another reason why you've got to most certainly follow GTM and make way to the Fountains Church coming up here this Saturday, because not only could you be in action and be a champion, you could also be facing off with Chris Onyx for 3 championships here.
That's what it's about, though, isn't it? That's what everything's about. Winning championships, making stories, working with as many people as possible. So let's do it.
Wow. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just blown away here by what I'm just hearing. And I've got more comments in here. And Becky Fox says, Jack's going to whoop ass Salford. I mean, certainly the Jack Johnson supporters are in the house. I mean, you have a thought to the
we
Jack
found
Johnson fan club?
We've either found his one fan, his sister, his mum. So,
well, I'm going to plead the fifth on that. I'm certainly not going to go in the business of, talking down, friends or fans or family supporters. So I will certainly get to that here. And we've got Kieran Hayes here says he's showing off, meaning Jack Johnson, because he's scared. There's a difference between playing the big boy and being the big boy. And Kieran's a big boy. Let me tell you something. I've seen his clips. He's a part of the Nonstop Action Wrestling roster. He's a big part of things there. I've seen his clips. From what I've heard of Bentley, my money's on Bentley. So we've got the Jack Johnson supporters, but we got the Bentley. You've earned a fan here. You've a fellow colleague. Somebody, he's put his money on you. That's got to basically motivate you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, especially when other workers get behind you, it's you know you're doing something right. If people who do what you do are getting behind you, and rather than your opponent.
Well, certainly.
So thank you, Kieran.
Well, we like Kieran. Kieran is definitely going to be somebody on here in the near and distant future on Sportzwire Radio. Very excited to hear his story. He's got a lot to say about old school MC2, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very curious of hearing. And Damo, Christopher Hunter. Obviously, we've seen Damo quite a bit here on our streams. And Damo also, I know, is at the Academy over at GTM. And he says one of the best in pro wrestling for GTM and BTW is Bentley. And we definitely agree with that as well. And we've got here, Damo also agrees Bentley is one of the best pro wrestlers in GTM and BTW. But he also asked, though, are you worried that Dangerous will get involved? Well, that was a question I asked a little while ago, Damo. But for Damo here, walk us through your thoughts on that, champ.
First of all, thanks, Damo. I think you're seems to be one of my biggest fans. You like everything I post, and so yeah, thanks. With regards to Dangerous, or however they want to say it, because they tried to make it sound like Danger or us, like Toys R Us, but it never worked. So
I was thinking of for whatever reason, the Michael Jackson album and song Dangerous. Yeah, I have no idea why that came up, but not that I'm a Michael Jackson fan.
It just looks like they can't spell.
Well,
so yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about 3 people who can't spell. Yes, when me, Sean Only, and Matt went up against them in that 3 or 6-man tag a couple of months back, we did come off on the losing side, but maybe that was because of what happened afterwards when Sean, turned on me that night. But like I said, I took out the other 2 members of Dangerous on the last show, so I'm not worried about them this show.
All right, well, those are certainly some fair points here. I could certainly see why you wouldn't be worried based off the run that you're on. And I would argue, I think I've said this here quite a bit over the past few months, you've arguably been one of the hottest wrestlers right now in all of professional wrestling, the run that you're on here. I mean, in the past year, what have we had essentially like one clean loss? I mean, it's essentially, and that was to a guy in Franco Varga who has wins over the likes of Chris Masters. He's been in the ring with Carlito and EC3. I mean, this is a guy that's been wrestled with world champions, like WWE stars. So that tells you that the run that you're on here, to say the least. And I've got more comments. And
I wouldn't have called that a clean loss either, because Stocks got involved.
That's my point. Listen, that's my guy. Jump in.
The only clean loss I've had is the Gareth Angel on the very first opening, the opening of the GTM inaugural title tournament. So that's the only clean loss in the past.
Well, I definitely stand corrected, and certainly I know this happened on Monday when I mentioned RPD's name. My eyes might
Yeah,
have to get checked because I can tell you I missed this like the third time I've read something wrong. So clearly it's either my allergies or my eyes do need to get
yeah.
checked. Maybe a combination of both. So I am obviously aware of the fact that you were in the ring with Gareth, and that's obviously separate discussion for a separate time. And obviously Franco Varga, we spoke about quite a bit with you, and certainly we got into that. But obviously, let's get to Mr. A fan, or not a fan here, but somebody certainly I certainly know that is tied to CCW here. And this individual says CCW to rule Judgment Day. And that certainly does seem to be possibly the theme upcoming.
I mean, if they want to turn this into some sort of invasion, then by all means, because I'll gladly represent GTM. I'll gladly stop anybody trying to ruin what we've built.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, though, because I had asked this question to old school MC2 last night. I am glad that you brought this up because old school MC2, I had asked him, I said, well, May 27th, we have an event upcoming for CCW, the National Culinary Brawl. I'm sure you've heard about it. We plugged it a little while ago. I mean, I have to ask you. I mean, Chris Onyx is going to be in the house Saturday night. He's going to be in the ring, right? So I'm going to ask you then. Let's say Saturday night, you're the GTM World Champion. I mean, are you doing anything May 27th? Do you want to show up at the National Culinary Brawl? I mean, is that something where maybe you want to make your presence felt here? I mean, because obviously we are seeing top tiers in the house. They're going to be in the ring. I mean, is that something where maybe you have a date open on the 27th of May?
I mean, if there's an open invitation, then maybe the vigilante can show up.
Ooh. Well, I mean, certainly if I'm a CCW fan, if I'm a top tier fan, can you think about this, ladies and gentlemen? Imagine a showdown between Bentley and Chris Onyx. We saw Bentley in the ring last month, and he literally almost broke the ring at the Fountains Church. I mean, think about this. Just think about it. I mean, just imagine what we could see on our hands. That's just 15 short days from now. I mean, listen, that could be more volatile right now than your crypto account, your 401k, your mutual fund, the financial markets all around the world, because I could certainly see here Judgment Day and Summit. We've got some more comments. Let me get to first a friend of mine, that's John Gonzalez. And John is all the way from the States here. And, of course, he runs the Sports Authorities group, which I want to give a plug to because I'm a moderator to it. That there's over 4,000 members in that, and I actually just shared it to their group on Facebook. So I want to thank John for his support. John is a huge, huge man in his own right. He's also done a lot of great things. He's a big part of my Sportswire radio show Friday nights here, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you, John, for all of your support. So he asked, where is Andre Decker? I mean, I almost have to throw it out there. That would be a colossal match between you and the unforgettable Andre Decker, although he's got his hands full right now in some other companies. So I could certainly say that, to say the least.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, there's another guy who I've never met, so anything could
He's a
happen.
big man. He's a big man. I know him very well, Mr. Decker. He won't admit it, but he loves coming on Sportswire. He's been on at this point, like, I lost count. He's literally over the past year and a half, he's been on maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 times. I mean, at least. I mean, so he may not admit it, but he certainly likes to air his grievances out there. So
it's always good to have an outlet, isn't it?
yeah, certainly. I guess as Justin Timberlake famously sung "Cry Me a River." I mean, but here nor there. And Kieran jumps back in here and says, "If you don't want to win championships, then why are you in the business?" This is rhetorical, by the way. Bentley 3 belts has a nice ring to it. Looking forward to the near future. Have you thought that far ahead? I mean, obviously, we just want to get to 1 belt. Is that would be fair to say?
Look, yeah, it's as much as Bentley 3 belt sounds fantastic. I am laser focused on Saturday. Saturday is the first thing, and then on to BTW, and
absolutely
then forever.
The dominoes have to all fall into place. You got to get there first. So obviously, I've got some more comments. I've got some CCW comments. I've got some BTW thoughts. I've also got some obviously GTM. Let's get to Bluegrass's Girl, because Bluegrass's Girl has obviously been a huge part of everything going on here in GTM. She just shared our video on her Instagram and Facebook. So huge shout out to Blue Glasses Girl. So she's asking a question here, which I know has come up a couple of different times. She says, Bentley, do I need to get some extra gaffer tape? And again, in case you break the ropes again, that is kind of the running theme here over the past week.
Well, funny story. I don't know if you're aware as well. They also broke at BTW on Friday night. So I broke ropes twice in 2 nights that weekend. So
are you intending to like break rings and break ropes? Are you intending that? Is that your plan right now? If I don't get the world championship in BTW and GTM, I'm just gonna break their ropes and ring?
I mean, maybe I just hit harder than everybody else. But it was the Friday night one was the hardcore match with Stocks. And it broke before the match even started. I jumped on the ropes and it broke. So I had to spend 20 minutes with the fans while they fixed the ring.
Okay, well, it almost reminds me of when I was a little kid. There was Shaquille O'Neal, obviously famous NBA player, and his first year in the league, he was famous for actually when he was dunking the basketball. Nobody had done this before. Well, Daryl Dawkins had done it, but who had really done it in Vogue, he had basically, when he dunked the ball, he shattered the glasses. So it was like, I think 3 different ones in like a period kind of similar to you. And it was all of a sudden, it was like, they had to build the basketball nets differently. They had to build the backboards differently because of Shaquille O'Neal. So you're almost like the Shaquille O'Neal of professional wrestling right now.
They're going to have to reinforce everything, basically.
And John Gonzalez reminds me of Choco Thunder. Yes, Daryl Dawkins. I just it slipped my mind, but that was kind of the comparison. John can appreciate that because he runs the Sports Authorities group, and his sports knowledge is obviously through the roof. Well, because I don't want to admit this, but he's a lot older than me, obviously. But no, we love John. Obviously, John is the man. John does some great things. And John's a big man in his own right here, and I've got to get into some CCW reactions, and that is, of course, from Uncle Ralph here, and Uncle Ralph is a huge part. He said, I'm sure you're familiar with Uncle Ralph, and he says here, top tier Onyx is coming for the gold. So it looks like Uncle Ralph is making some claims here. I mean, what's your thoughts? I mean, who do you like in that match? I mean, I almost have to ask. I mean, do you want it to be Chris Onyx? I mean, because I kind of now want to see you with Chris Onyx in the ring. I kind of like that possibility.
It intrigues me, that one. Out of the options in that match, that intrigues me because of the potential for the belt.
I think you and him also kind of like even out in a sense. I mean, I know Rarebit would obviously people would want to see that GTM wise, but I think there's a curiosity factor. I think between you and Chris, there's just that curiosity.
Yeah, I have the same curiosity. Like, especially when someone from another promotion comes in, you always have that interest. But I do have one question about that match. So the past 2 shows, Rarebit is meant to be part of Dangerous. Why is he number 1 contender? Why is he trying to get to the title off Jack?
Well, that was something that we had asked, and Mr. Johnson had said he'll handle that. He is not worried about that situation. He said he seemed confident, Mr. Johnson. I'm sure you heard last week his thoughts on that. And certainly if I'm Mr. Onyx and I'm in the top tier and I'm the CCW camp, I would be curious about that as well. I mean, because you would think before Mr. Johnson had become the GTM champion, we saw a little bit of a situation there between Dangerous. I mean, certainly we saw sort of that interaction between all of them. I mean, do you feel like deep down that Mr. Johnson fears Bentley? I mean, Mr. Johnson says he's undefeated, though, against Rarebit. But you have a thought on that?
I know he's got some sort of weird control over Rarebit, so that may be why he's undefeated. And maybe he sent him into that match to win the 4-way, so then he didn't really have to defend the belt.
Interesting point there. Certainly, that is a very, very interesting point there. I mean, that's kind of my thought originally, is that maybe there's some sort of scheme there that that Rarebit would maybe lay down there against Jack the Champ Johnson. But Jack's got to get through you first. I mean, so certainly he's got his hands full with you. This is the rubber match. When they always say the rubber match, that's usually the best match here coming up here when it comes to a championship as well. And Kieran also says going to need that gaffer tape to keep Jack Johnson together after Saturday. Yeah, I tell you what, absolutely. I can feel the tension right now, and I can feel it. I'm basically on the other side of the pond here, and we've got here some more comments. And Blue Glasses Girl says, it's because you're a mountain. At least he can't break our screen, so we'll be all tuning in live Saturday. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the thought there.
I did nearly throw Jack through a screen in one match at GTM. He went over the rope and nearly threw the screen behind him. So God knows what's going to happen on Saturday.
I don't know. I mean, that's why you need to go out there and support GTM, and definitely, if you can, get out to the Fountain Church. There's just a few tickets available. There's literally, I count on my hand how many tickets are available. So if you can, GT Ministries UK, make sure you do that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, gtministries.co.uk to buy a ticket, because you can get that front row seat and see the main event at Judgment Day for the World Championship, the number one contender, Bentley, against Jack the Champ Johnson. Plus, you'll see now the five-way match that has recently been announced here, where you will see the BTW champion, Rarebit, the CCW champion, Chris Onyx, the UKW champion, Mustafa Khan, the UKW TV champion, Cayman Carlisle, Andy Poole. Where are you going to see a company that's going to have three world champions simultaneously wrestling each other? I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I mean, this is why, again, you got to get out there, go to GTM. If you like what you hear from Sportswire Radio, if you're on Facebook, give us a like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our content on sportnarium.com/player. And Blue Glasses Girl says Shaq Bentley has nice words. Yeah, you are kind of like the Shaq of certainly UK pro wrestling. And Damo Christopher Hunter says maybe Jack is going to make Rarebit put the BTW title on the line and be BTW champion too. But he's got to get through.
Yep, they
Bentley
both got to get through me.
Got to get through Bentley first. Not so fast, my friend. In the words of Lee Corso, obviously the famous ESPN college football analyst. And Uncle Ralph says, gentlemen, Onyx is the slam beast. He's on a gold sweeping mission. And it is a new, and some would say improved, Chris Onyx. Your reactions to what Uncle Ralph says. And Uncle Ralph knows top tier better than anybody.
I mean, it sounds like me and the Slam Beast have similar missions. So if two people have the same mission, they're always going to end up on a collision course.
Well, that's a very, very fair point. That's certainly duly noted here. And before I get to my announcement, because I want to get to it now while I have a chance here. So Damo says here, forget the Monday Night War, bring on the Saturday. Well, yeah, I tell you what, as I said it here before, Judgment Day, we very well may not be the same here when it comes to GTM, CCW, BTW, who knows what else here. Blue Glasses Girl also reminds me, http://backspace fountainsbradford.org/wrestling to get your tickets here also for Saturday. So thank you very much for that. Great job from Blue Glasses Girl. Kieran Hayes says, up the ante and drill him through the screen. It'll bring a whole new meaning to in-your-face entertainment. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if GTM management, though, wants that to happen, because they've got to then all of a sudden put up a new screen. So that means that's money out of the pockets of maybe wrestlers. So I don't know if management would necessarily agree with that, but that's here nor there. But let me get to my breaking news here, because this is going to kind of impact you. And while we've got a little more time with you, I want to make sure that we get this in here and set the tables for those that are coming Saturday night, because this is literally, we're just about, I would say, 46 hours or so from bell time at GTM's Judgment Day. So let me get to it. So we've got here breaking news. You're going to only hear this first on Sportswire Radio. So this is certainly going to be Bentley. You're going to want to hear this, because returning to GTM this Saturday, your old nemesis, Sean Only, who will be facing the debuting Jimmy Jackson. You heard it here first, so let's recap it again for everybody that's in the house, that's a GTM fan, CCW fan, BTW, whoever else in the house. Sean Only, back in the house. He's going to be in the ring with Jimmy Jackson. Your reactions to that?
Well, obviously, the last time we saw Sean, he stomped my head through the ring. And then we've not seen him since. I was meant to be the main event with him. He sent Disciple instead.
Yep.
Kicked his
We were
off.
here and spoke about that.
Yeah, kicked his head off, and then challenged him to the next show, and then he sent one of the UK's best, Dave Birch, beat Dave Birch, and then I went to America, and Sean wasn't on the show whilst I was in America. I came back, and I was in the number one contenders. So Sean, I still have an issue with Sean, but he's at the moment in my rearview mirror. Stay out of my way, I'll stay out of yours on Saturday, and then we can resume this after I've got that title.
The games most certainly have been anteed up here for sure, and that kind of leads me because apparently Damo Hunter is doing his work for me because he says here, is Jack Johnson going to pay Sean Only to interfere in the World Championship match and cost Bentley? I mean, I don't know that question. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, though. He's on to something, and what do you think Sean Only is in terms of being a factor possibly in your match, because we know he might have an axe to grind when it comes to you, my friend.
If I was Sean Only, I'd wait till I've got the belt, because then if he wants to come after me, there's going to be something on the line. So it makes logical sense for him to wait till I've won the belt.
So you think that Sean Only's play here is to wait till you win Saturday night? You don't think, though, he might want to, in his mind, say, you know what? I want to make it my mission that Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling, isn't going to be the champion, the conquering hero for GTM.
But where's he been? Where's Sean been? He's ducked out twice, and then he didn't get involved in the number one contenders to stop me from being number one contenders. So what's his like? I don't know what his play is. He's back the night I'm in the title match. Maybe it's just to get a good look. Maybe
you think it's coincidence then?
Could be coincidence, but obviously I'm already going to be looking out for Dangerous. Already going to be looking out for Matt Williams. So what's another person to look out for?
But aren't you concerned, though, that in a sense, I mean, there is a point here. No, I don't know, and it certainly is illegal in a sense for Mr. Johnson to continue to pay off people to help him. And I'm going to let Mr. Johnson speak for that. I'm going to let his pockets speak for that. I'll let for Dangerous decide for themselves on how they want to go about it. But aren't you a little worried here that you've got Maverick Matt Williams? We don't know his situation, his involvement. Sean Only is back in GTM, and you've got still Rarebit and the Metal God Alex Boylan. I mean, that sounds like, a lot of people with a lot of different things. It's almost like, in a sense, you're like the John Wick right now of GTM. There's a possibility. It almost seems like that there could be a bounty on everybody. Listen, I famously saw John Wick 3 12 times. I mean, you might be seeing 12 different people in the ring looking for 12 different things from you. I mean, at this point, you literally are like John Wick. Listen, maybe there is a bounty on you. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe there is something that you're going to have to, maybe you need a dog. Maybe you need a dog to even the score up.
I've already got a dog. I mean, he's not good. He's a soft like.
Well, then
thing,
you need a bigger dog. You need
a
dog that Mr. Wick had. That's probably what you need.
I mean, all I need is my feet. To be honest, everyone who comes through that curtain, I'll kick the head off. Anyone who tries to get involved, I will kick the head off. And we're forgetting we've also got referees.
Yeah, but referees, though, aren't the same as Sean Only and Maverick Matt Williams and Dangerous. I mean...
Yeah, but referees are there to look out for these things. I know famously in wrestling, referees don't always see everything. But if you've got me to take care of most of it, the ref's going to be there to, hopefully.
I know, but I know that I know that you like making the world better. I know you are a vigilante of pro wrestling. I know all those things. But, I mean, you can't be that naive. You pretty much acknowledge that referees, you hope they do the right thing. And you and I hope they do the right things, too. We always like to call it down the line here on Sportswire Radio. But, I mean, in one sense, he's got possibly the numbers game in his favor. Even if you take away Maverick Matt Williams, even if you take away Sean Only, there is an underlying theme here. He's got the advantage just because of the numbers game. I mean, are you hoping? I even have to throw it out there. Are you hoping maybe somehow Mr. Angel and the Angels Army are activated? I mean, have you spoke to Gareth Angel?
I haven't, but
okay, so you haven't spoke to Gareth Angel. Okay,
but we know Gareth and Jack and Dangerous are intertwined in GTM, and they probably forever will be.
Absolutely.
So Gareth does what's good. He knows what's good. Obviously, him and the Army. I would have faith in them if something bad is going down to get involved.
All right, we'll certainly see here. In Blue Glasses Girl says, kick their head off. Oh my, have you seen how long Bentley's legs are? Seeing those flying at you, you're going down. And let's see Damo here. Jack Johnson reminds me a bit of Eddie Guerrero because he lies, he cheats, and he tried to steal the GTM title in his first title match. Well, he has the title, but he may not have the title in his first defense. So let's see if he becomes, let's say, like a Buster Douglas, where Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, and famously his first defense, he didn't even show up practically against Evander Holyfield. So we'll see about that. We're here on Sportswire Radio for about, I guess, 20 or 25 minutes here with Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling. And if you like what you hear again from Bentley, of course, you can follow him on Instagram at @the.bentley_. Make sure you follow. Also like his Facebook page because he does a phenomenal job, and he has shared our video. He's always out there posting great. He really knows how to use social media to his advantage. So I want to make sure everybody follows him. Also on Twitter, @the_Bentley_. So make sure you follow him. All those great sources here. GTM Ministries UK as well on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, gtministries.co.uk. We have another comment in here from Blue Glasses Girl, but I'll get to that in a minute. But I want to ask you something because I've got to bring this up here, and I have a few more comments, and I should get to them because, well, I have supporters of mine. They want to comment, so let's get to them. So Anthony J. Finkel, and I want to thank Anthony Finkel. So we'll let Anthony talk to you for a minute or two because I was going to get to a comment towards you, but we'll let the people speak. So he says here, the Reverend Tom Bryce, the hardest working man in show business. And I want to acknowledge Anthony Finkel because he has a birthday coming up here in a few short weeks that I'm actually a part of because he's actually having a birthday at the Marine Park Brooklyn Golf Course here, which, although I don't really play golf, I'll definitely be there at some point in the early afternoon. That is Saturday, May the 28th. And he says here, I am the hardest working man in show business. So that's Bentley because Bentley's going to be Bentley, possibly 3 belts. But he actually had his own running-ins here with the unforgettable Andre Decker. And Anthony J. Finkel is a pretty big man in his own right. I mean, he'd be somebody that you might want to have. Listen, Anthony Finkel is a big man. I mean, if you need some help, maybe we could send Mr. Finkel down in DPH Property Service because they could certainly help you in the numbers game. I mean, so if they're not doing anything Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, U.S. time, maybe Bentley, if you want the numbers game to be evened out, we could call Big Fink and certainly DPH Property Services, and maybe they could help you out in terms of handling danger because that's what they do. They get rid of debris, they get rid of garbage, they get rid of all that stuff, and maybe that's what you need.
I mean, if he's willing to fly over, and is he related to Howard?
No, not at all. He's a lot bigger than Howard, and he's obviously and he's a lot more creative than Howard as well. And he wouldn't do famously what I actually saw once on Monday Night Raw between Harvey Whippleman and Howard Finkel in a how can I put this here to be polite? They basically were almost in a match where the winner of it lost all of their clothes in the ring. That's all I'm going to say. And I know, scary thought. Hope you ate before you came on the air. So no, Anthony Finkel's a lot smarter than that and a lot better than that.
You know, I think all you guys should come over and commentate on GTM Live.
I would love to. I've got offers right now from the LWF, KOW, Odyssey Pro Wrestling, certainly Mr. Jackson at BTW, which I'm going to get to. I actually have something to say on that. So, I mean, listen, we'll definitely try to work on that here. And obviously, we've got some more comments here. Thank you, Anthony. He says, love you, Tom. Well, we love you too, obviously. Thank you for all of your support. Anthony's been one of my longest friends here. And we've got another about 15 or so minutes with Bentley. So I got to wrap it up here soon, guys. I know I got some more comments. So let's do that here. And Bluegrass's girl says, I've noticed Gareth Angel's been quiet this week. I'm worried he's plotting payback. No, I think that might be a good thing, certainly, if you're for a lot of people in GTM here. So obviously says here, Bentley makes amazing videos. Absolute bet. I think it's you and RPD that make the two best ones. I mean, I might be biased, but I think you and RPD are two of the best. And he says here, maybe MDM are going to collect their money from Jack Johnson, which is great stuff. But I got to get to BTW here because obviously I got to get to closing thoughts here. We've also got to come back on here at 9:30 for Mikey Fitzgerald and speak the LWF and Wastelands event, which is coincidentally on Saturday as well. But the good news here, GTM offers their streams on YouTube, whereas you've got to wait for Powered 4 TV to go watch the LWF's event. So cheap pop here. Thank you to the management. But I want to ask you a question here. There's somebody that's been on a number of our streams here over the past several months. He's been on the show a couple of different times, and that's Davey Goetzky of the Wrecking Crew. I'm sure you're familiar with Mr. Goetzky and the Wrecking Crew. He's obviously also been a part of BTW, and wanted to get your thoughts, obviously, on Mr. Goetzky and the Wrecking Crew, and just, I mean, do you think you're going to see them in the near and distant future? I mean, certainly it looks like they're now a part of BTW, and I mean, what do you make of Mr. Goetzky and his tag team partner there, Mr. Stone, right now? Because it looks like they're going to be a big part of BTW, and, well, you're a big part of BTW.
Look, as the vigilante, I do keep my eye on everything that's going on in every promotion I'm working in. And there are certain people who, I watch, and the Wrecking Crew, they came into BTW, well, they invaded BTW first, and then they've done everything in their power just to cause a nuisance and get involved. They got involved in the title match. Like Goetzky got himself into the title match the last show, and then Stone got involved, and still didn't win, but they just can't be getting involved. And yeah, they are on my radar. I'm laser focused at BTW on Rarebit. So once I win that title, I'll be cleaning BTW up of anybody who's causing a nuisance and upsetting people. So, and they're probably maybe the top of my list.
Well, it seems like here to echo Bluegrass's girl's statement, take the waste out of GTM, there'll be some serious debris clearing DPH. Well, there could very well be, it sounds like, some serious debris to be cleared in BTW when it comes to Mr. Goetzky and Mr. Stone and the Wrecking Crew, which leads me then to BTW, and I'm going to get to some closing thoughts and a few thoughts here because we've got another about 10 or so minutes with Bentley, and we know Bentley's a very busy man because we're just literally a few short hours away now from Judgment Day, so certainly we want to obviously give the potential champ his opportunity to focus and get ready for the main event. But what would you want to say then after what I just heard you say to Mr. Goetzky and Mr. Stone? What do you directly want to say to them? Because I know that they're going to find out about this.
Why have you got to be so angry all the time? Why have you got to come into promotions? I know it's in your name, the Wrecking Crew. You've got to come in and wreck everybody. But why?
And he wants everybody to buy his new shirt, by the way.
Yeah, nobody wants your shirt, Dave. Nobody. Get Bentley's shirt. It's also cheaper than Dave's. So
I might have to buy that after we get off the air because considering the way things are going with my finances, I better just put it on wrestling shirts at this point.
I mean, yeah, it might go up in value.
Yeah, it can only be better than crypto right now.
It might go up to the value on Goetzky shirts.
Wow.
So yeah, just stop being a nuisance. Just wrestle. Enjoy wrestling. Enjoy the fans. Don't obsess with upsetting people. So just have fun, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's certainly words we all could live by. And Bluegrass's girl says YouTube channel for the live stream, GTM Pro Wrestling, GT Ministries. Appreciate that. So I want to ask you a few questions before we get closing thoughts, and they're all going to be intertwined. I've been kind of asking this as a theme pretty much to everybody who's been in championship matches here this week. So I'm going to be no different and ask you the same question. So what would it mean to you this Saturday to win the GTM World Championship?
It will mean the absolute world. It will be Bentley's first championship, and I would love to represent GTM and Bradford, and especially in this fashion of stopping somebody like Jack Johnson, a little Salford scumbag, running wild over Bradford. It would just make the world a better place.
Would it be fair to say it would be on the same level as, I don't know, being at WrestleMania 38 last month?
Well, probably higher. This would be mean.
All right, well, I'm good.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true
I
champion.
was there. I got
I
asked.
think I settled there on Instagram.
Yeah. I got asked to be Seth Rollins' surprise opponent, but unfortunately Cody said yes first. So,
well,
just wasn't quick enough.
You're better off. Listen, you could be potentially in a month from now holding 3 world championship belts. So I think you made the right move, and certainly it's going to be better for you in the long run. Don't feel too bad.
Yeah, well, I'll try not to.
All right, we've got here Uncle Ralph says, wise words from Bentley. Enjoy the wrestling. Thank you, Uncle Ralph. So I want to ask you then this question. Your final words. This is your final words now between now and Saturday night at Judgment Day. What do you want to say for your final words? You get the last shot now at Mr. Johnson. What's your final words to Jack Johnson before Saturday night?
Jack, you've got 48 hours. And then it's over. It's 9 o'clock now. By 9 o'clock on Saturday, your title run will be over, Jack. And the title you craved and needed just to lord over everybody in Bradford and scream about Salford will be gone. And what you're going to do is do with yourself then, Jack. After I've kicked your head off, left you laying there, and the whole of Bradford is chanting for Bentley, nobody's saying anything about Salford. What are you going to do? You're going to take your tank, go back to Salford, and disappear.
Ladies and gentlemen, very, very strong words here. Bentley has definitely fired the final shot. Could it be the biggest shot? We're going to certainly stay tuned here. And I want to ask you then, for anybody that's coming Saturday and has heard all this, I mean, we've done so much promotion and talking about GTM. We've talked about the Forbidden Doors being opened, obviously CCW, BTW. We spoke about Chris Onyx. We spoke about Rarebit. But for anybody that's coming Saturday night, anybody that after hearing everything is saying, you know what? I just got that one more push after what Bentley said. Now I've got to, you know what? Maybe I got to come out there. Maybe I got to go to gtministries.co.uk, go to the Fountains Church page, and go out and buy a ticket. What do you want to say to anybody who's coming Saturday night or anybody now who's thinking about coming after hearing what you've said and everybody that's going to be a part of Saturday's card?
Come down. It's always a blast at GTM. It's a great setup. Like the stage, the lighting, the ring. It's beautifully presented. It's always a fun night. The crowd is always on fire, and it's a great atmosphere. It's a great place to be. So get yourself down. Come watch Bentley win the title. Come watch some other great matches and see what happens.
Absolutely, no question about it. And for whatever reason, the Van Halen song Judgment Day is still racked in my brain. And those lyrics, famously from Eddie Van Halen, sung by Sammy Hagar, I think say it best. Put it off until Judgment Day because I'm going to bear the cross on Judgment Day. So we're putting everything off until Judgment Day because we are going to bear that cross. And a lot of people are going to be bearing that cross because it's my life. Get off my ass. Get out of my face. Man, I don't see no problem kicking back and kicking you. No. Anyway, if I make them, I'll solve them. And it very well could be Bentley who's solving the problems that GTM has right now when it comes to Dangerous and Jack Johnson and his run as world champion. We are looking forward to GTM Judgment Day this Saturday. GT Ministries UK, GTM Pro Wrestling, GT Ministries on YouTube, gtministries.co.uk. Champ, I know you're a very busy man. We very well could be calling you Bentley 3 belts. Who knows? Saturday very well could be that start. So I want to give you the floor now. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to share. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. I can't thank you enough that we have definitely saved the best for last and having you on as our last person from GTM Judgment Day. I can't wait to bring you back on, hopefully a little bit sooner than the last time, but I want to give you the floor. I can't thank you enough. The floor is yours, and fire away.
Just want to say thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tom, for having us on. Thanks for being so involved with GTM this week. Thanks for, hopefully more in the future. Thanks.
We've got it already lined up.
I
mean, listen, we've got all the tag teams are facing off next Friday. Jack Johnson's going to be in the house. He's going to respond. So we're already zoomed up for it.
Well, there you go. Thanks to all the fans for the comments and tuning in, supporting me and buying tickets and coming down. Just thanks, everyone. And I can't wait for Saturday night. And thanks, Gaz, for that comment.
Absolutely. And of course, certainly there we've got top lad Bentley well-deserved. I think we know who that individual may be. So we'll certainly plead the fifth and certainly let everybody read between the lines there. But obviously, I want to thank also, before we get out of here, I want to thank everybody at GTM for this opportunity to speak about this wonderful company, this wonderful event coming up here for Judgment Day. I cannot thank enough everybody that puts on the shows here for GTM. I want to thank everybody at the Fountains Church. I want to thank everybody that's talent, management that's a part of this. I want to thank, obviously, everybody that came on, Joel Cobra. I want to thank, obviously, Old School MC2, the Working Class Militia, Jack Johnson, Bentley, Bluegrass's Girl, all the talent in the academy that's a part of this. I just want to thank everybody. And I want to thank GTM one more time because what they're doing for the community of Bradford, they are giving people an opportunity. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so it's very important what GTM is doing, giving all the, I've heard the stories here, so I want to thank everybody. GT Ministries UK is where you can find out more information. We'll be back here with GTM Talk next week, starting next Thursday again with Jack Johnson. Might even be more. Stay tuned for that. More surprises. I have a feeling when it comes to GTM, but we'll let everybody keep tuned in for that here to Sportswire Radio for that. And Bluegrass's Girl says, see you backstage Saturday night. That's for you. So she gives her parting shot. So Bluegrass's Girl, also follow her on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. She has been sharing all of our stuff. So I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. We were just with the #1 contender for the BTW Championship and the GTM Championship, and very well could be in the line for a CCW shot here in the near and distant future. That is, of course, Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling. If you are on Sportswire Radio, hang out here in about 20 or so minutes. We'll have Mikey Fitzgerald of the LWF to get us ready here for the card here. And Bluegrass's Girl also says 116-112 for the Samaritans Mental Health Helpline. Absolutely. Thank you for that here. Also, we've got here, can't wait for the BBC One documentary as part of the We Are England series in the mental health aspect and audit. Absolutely. Anything we can do for that. We also are part of a telethon here in the States in a little while after Mikey Fitz. Regarding to that, somebody from Diana Johnson, who's related to a friend of mine who's a famous musician, singer here in the States, had a record deal with Sony Records. So I obviously want to thank everybody who's helping out with that as well. So if you're on Sportswire Radio, we'll be back on about 20 or so minutes with Mikey Fitz. We'll get ready for the LWF's Wasteland card. So that'll be this Saturday. But, of course, we love GTM's card. We're getting ready much more because I'll be watching Judgment Day. I'll be watching Bentley versus Jack Johnson. I'll be watching Sean Only and Jimmy Jackson. I'll be watching the Triple Threat Tag Team Championship, the now Fatal 5-Way, and much, much more. So thank you, everybody. If you're on sportnarium.com/player, hang on tight. You'll get, I guess, Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer. You'll get a Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer jingle, and maybe you'll get Information Society, What's on Your Mind. So you'll get some 80s music for 20 minutes. Then we'll be back on. If you're on Facebook and all of other platforms, we'll be back up here. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bentley. Thank you to everybody from the Academy that's watching. Thank you, CCW. Thank you, Mr. Barris. Thank you, Mr. Rangel. Thank you, everyone else. We'll be back in a little while. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. All right.